Dorian Vale was the kind of man wolves whispered about, and humans accidentally swiped left on. Tall, imposing, and entirely uninterested in love. Soulmates, or any celestial nonsense wrapped in the phrase fated mate, he prowled the forest. Edge behind his estate, shirtless despite the chill, each step cracking a branch, each breath white with fury. The moon hung low above the treetops, full and smug, just like fate. Stop pacing before you wear a canyon into the earth, Lucas, muttered from behind him, leaning against a thick pine, arms crossed, his beta mark peeking from beneath his collar. Dorian turned his golden eyes on him. The elders are pushing again. You're 35, Alpha. Your mate should have been found years ago. What if she's dead? What if she's human? He spat the word like it tasted wrong. Lucas arched a brow. You mean like your mother? Dorian growled. Lucas didn't flinch. She was different. She was human, not the point, Dorian snapped. The council doesn't get to dictate when or how I find a mate. And I'm not some lovesick cub sniffing the wind for soul-bound perfume. A pause, a beat. Then Lucas said, You broke another chair last night. Dorian's lip twitched. It had a weak leg. It was made of steel. A silence stretched between them, broken only by a distant owl and the rustling leaves. I don't want her, Dorian muttered, almost to himself. Whoever she is. I don't want a damn bond, I want control. Lucas didn't reply. He'd known Dorian since they were pups, known the weight of expectations, of being the alpha son, the legacy bearer. He also knew this denial of the mate bond wasn't power. It was fear wrapped in fangs. We've got patrolled reports from the southern ridge. Rogue scent, smells desperate. Dorian's focus snapped back. Pack? No. Something else. Alone. I'll send a team. Dorian's fists unclenched. No. I'll go. I need the run. Lucas hesitated. Try not to destroy any more wildlife on the way. Dorian cracked a grin, sharp and humorless. No promises. The bell over the door at Sadie's shotgun saloon rang like a warning. Sadie Myers, mid-30s, red flannel rolled to the elbows, an attitude wrapped in black denim, barely looked up from drying pint glasses. The bar was packed with Saturday regulars, ranchers, bikers, small-town drama magnates, but she could feel the chill the moment the stranger walked in. Her eyes flicked up. Tall, too tall. Black hair, eyes like sunlit ambient settling, like they knew your secrets. He wore all black like some drama king out of a leather catalogue and moved like he owned every inch of the air he touched. Sadie frowned. Trouble, muttered Joe at the end of the bar, wiping his mouth with a napkin. He looks expensive, said Lisa, slamming her beer on the table. Bet he drinks aged blood and broken hearts. Sadie snorted. If he causes trouble, he's getting the barrel end of my .38. No exceptions. The stranger paused at the door, nostrils flaring like he was sniffing something. Sadie didn't like that either. He walked straight to the bar and sat on a stool like it was a throne. What'll it be? She asked flatly. He didn't answer at first, just looked at her like he'd found something unexpected. A whiskey, neat. His voice was low, rumbled like distant thunder. Sadie poured without blinking. First time here? Yes. Don't cause problems. I don't plan to. Everyone says that, right before they do something stupid. His lip curved. Noted. Sadie handed over the drink. Their fingers didn't touch, but something in the air snapped. Static, tension, whatever it was. She ignored it. He sipped. And then, just like that, A loud shout rang from the pool table. 2 men had squared up. Drunk, chest-buffed, testosterone-fueled idiots. She could spot them a mile away. Not in my bar. She barked. The taller one shoved the other. Bad call. Sadie moved. The brawl escalated fast. Chairs screeched. Someone dropped a pool cue, a beer. Glass shattered against the floor. Dorian didn't move at first. His instincts prickled. There was bloodlust in the air minna. Humankind, but it still stirred his wolf. Sadie stormed into the chaos, grabbing the closest idiot by the collar and shoving him back. Out, Hank. You're banned for a month. Come on, Sadie. He slurred. He called me a. I don't care if he called you a cucumber. Out. Then the other man lunged. Dorian stood slowly and caught the guy mid-swing, hand around his wrist like steel. Back off, he growled, voice low. Unmistakably, alpha. The guy froze. Then Sadie punched. Him, not the drunk. Dorian, dot square in the jaw. He didn't stumble, but he definitely blinked. What the hell, she yelled. This is my bar, my mess. You don't interfere unless I say so. Dorian touched his chin. It didn't hurt. It shouldn't, but the moment her knuckles met his skin, something happened. A pulse, a snap. It hit him like a brick wall made of fire. His wolf snarled inside. Mate, oh hell. Sadie stared at him, hand still, clenched. You okay? She said, suddenly wary. Dorian was not okay. He was short-circuiting. Dorian backed up a step, blinking like he'd walked face first into a lightning strike. His jaw didn't throb, but his chest did tight, breathless and hot. Are you? Sadie began, but he cut her off. What's your name? She blinked. What? Your name, he repeated, voice lower now, like velvet scraped over gravel. Why? Because I think fate just punched me in the face. She squinted. Are you drunk? No, you sound drunk. I'm not. Sadie looked him up and down. Well, you've got 10 seconds to step back before I pull a shotgun out from under the bar. I'm not here to hurt you. Good, because I fight dirty. Dorian's wolf was pacing, howling. His hands twitched. The pull to her was magnetic, premolar unavoidable. I need to talk to you later. Somewhere. Quiet. You definitely sound like a stalker. Lucas appeared in the doorway, eyes immediately finding Dorian. There you are. We've got a situation. His gaze flicked to Sadie, then back to Dorian, then back to Sadie. Oh no, Lucas said under his breath. You found her, didn't you? Sadie glanced between them. Found what? Dorian's voice was almost reverent. My mate. Sadie took a long, slow step back. Then she said, okay, I'm calling the cops. Dorian didn't chase her because, if he did, she'd probably shoot him. She stormed behind the bar, pulled out her phone, and started dialing. He raised a hand, palms out. Wait, just listen. To what? Sadie snapped. More weird crap. About fate and mates, and I swear, if you say you're mine, I will mace you. Lucas coughed. Maybe explain a bit slower. She's human. I figured that. Sadie deadpanned. You'll keep sniffing like dogs in heat. Dorian stared at her. I'm not trying to scare you. Then stop looking at me like you want to lick my face. Lucas snorted and immediately turned it into a cough. Sadie turned her phone off, but didn't put it away. Explain, slowly, or leave. Dorian took a breath. I'm not human. I'm a werewolf, an alpha, and you, ... you're my fated mate. Sadie stared. Then she slowly reached under the counter and pulled out a pepper spray canister. Lucas held up his hands. Whoa, maybe we just back up a second. I knew it, Sadie muttered. Knew you were one of those furry freaks. Sniffing around the edge of town lately, Dorian bristled. We're not freaks. You're not normal either. Another pause. Then Sadie narrowed her eyes. You're serious, aren't you? As death, Dorian said. She sighed. Why? Me, I don't know. Fate. Fate can kiss my ass. His lips twitched. You're not just gonna walk in here and declare some ancient wolfy wedding plan, she continued. I'm not your anything. You got that? Dorian inclined his head, his voice softening. I'll earn it, if I have to. Fight tooth and claw, or, she cut in sweetly, you could leave and never come back. Lucas nudged Dorian. Well, she's definitely not going to be boring. Dorian didn't move. Didn't blink. I'm not going anywhere, he said simply. This bond doesn't give up, and neither do I. Sadie rolled her eyes and sprayed him right in the face. Lucas stared at Dorian as he stood in the clearing, blinking red-eyed and dripping from the pepper spray ambush. Pine needles stuck to his shirt. His dignity was somewhere back in the bar. You got sprayed, Lucas said flatly. I noticed. You didn't even try to dodge. She was holding it like she meant it. Dorian muttered, rubbing his face. It would have been rude. Lucas choked on a laugh. Oh yeah, real gentlemanly. Nothing says chivalry like voluntarily walking into chemical warfare. Dorian glared. This bond is real. I'm not arguing it's not. I am arguing that your current strategy is, how do I say this, gently certifiably insane. I'm not stalking her. You're camping outside her bar at midnight. I'm protecting her. You're crouching in a bush with binoculars. Dorian growled. I'm not using the binoculars. Lucas gave him a look. Dorian relented with a low sigh. Okay, maybe I am stalking her. Progress. Lucas muttered. Next step is therapy. Dorian stood and shook pine needles from his jeans. You don't understand. She punched me twice. I've never met a woman who looked me dead in the eye and said, You're not special, you're just big. Lucas smirked. That's hot. It was, Dorian admitted darkly. And now I can't stop thinking. About her. Lucas looked thoughtful. Then maybe back off for a few days. Let her breathe. Let the mate bond simmer instead of ... pressure cooking it in wolf obsession. I don't simmer, Lucas. Yeah, I'm painfully aware. Dorian stared toward. The bars glow through the trees. I'm not giving up, he said quietly. I know, Lucas said. But try not to get maced again. The pack already thinks you're going through a weird midlife crisis. Sadie was, elbow deep in inventory, restocking the tequila shelf. When the knock came, she didn't need to turn around to know who it was. The air changed, the temperature dropped, and her instincts screamed. Alpha trouble, incoming, doors locked. She shouted. Bar opens at 6. I'm not here for drinks. She sighed, straightened, and turned slowly. Dorian stood just inside the doorway, like a well-dressed vampire in the wrong genre. This time, he had the decency to look a little less intense. Less, ... sprayable. I came to apologize, he said. You brought flowers. No whiskey, no cash. No, then you suck at apologies. He gave a grudging smile. I brought information about what? You, Sadie folded her arms. Go on. Enlighten me about myself. You're in danger, Oh great. The Twilight Wolf has a warning. Dorian frowned. There are rogues in this area. Dangerous ones. Not mine, not local. I scented them the same night we met. I think they were tracking me. ... And they found your bar instead. Sadie narrowed her eyes. Why would they care about a random bar? Because I care about what's inside it. Her heart kicked once. Annoying. So now you're saying I'm bait. I'm saying you're important. And that puts a target on your back. Sadie grabbed a bottle of whiskey and 2 shot glasses. I'm not buying the whole soulmate spiel, she muttered, pouring. But I do believe in protecting my own damn turf. She slid him a shot. You get one more question before I throw you out. Dorian stared at the glass, then met her eyes. What do you see when you look at me? Sadie didn't answer right away. Then she said, a walking red flag, with good bone structure. Dorian knocked the shot back in one swallow. The scream came at 2:07 a.m. Sadie jolted awake in her upstairs apartment above the bar. Her phone lit up with a motion alert from the outdoor camera. She squinted at the screen. A man. No, something that looked like a man was limping around near the dumpster. Shirtless, thin, eyes glowing faintly. Red dot rogue, she didn't hesitate. Barefoot, in pajama pants and a tank top. Sadie stomped downstairs, grabbed her shotgun from under the counter, loaded to shells, and marched out the back door. Hey, Junkyard Twilight, she yelled. You on the wrong set. The rogue turned, it grinned, and lunged. Sadie didn't flinch. She pulled the trigger. The blast sent the creature flying back. It snarled, but didn't stay down. Another round chambered. Click, boom. This time, it didn't get up. A gust of wind hit behind her and Dorian landed hard on the ground, shifting mid-lep from his wolf form to human dot. Naked, Sadie didn't even blink. You're late. I was coming, he growled. I scented it too late. I handled it. He looked from the body to the smoking shotgun barrel and then to her, hair wind-blown and eyes calm. You didn't even scream. I didn't have time to be stared. Sadie finally noticed the naked. Please put on pants, she muttered, walking back inside. You're gonna start a rumor. I don't get it, Dorian said the next morning, fully clothed and sipping coffee in the bar's back office. You're not a wolf. You have no enhanced senses, no healing, no pack, and yet you walk into danger with that kind of confidence. Sadie shrugged. Welcome to being a woman in a man's world. He blinked. She sipped her coffee. I own this place. I know the people. I keep it safe. Supernatural nonsense or not. Dorian leaned back. You should have run when you saw that rogue. I should have done a lot of things, she replied. Married rich, moved to Florida, bought a blender. Life's full of regrets. He chuckled, despite himself. You're exhausting. You're obsessed. I'm your mate. No offense, but I still don't care. Dorian's expression sobered. You will. Is that a threat? It's a truth. Sadie stood. Let me save you time. If fate thought pairing a control freak alpha with a stubborn human who can't even shift was a good idea, it needs to go back to therapy. Even fate doesn't know what to do with you, Dorian muttered. Damn right it doesn't. It took 2 more nights, 1 more rogue, and a broken lock on the back gate before Sadie finally said the unthinkable. You can stick around, she told Dorian one morning, not meeting his eyes. For protection. Just until the rogue problem's handled. Dorian's brows rose. You mean it. Don't get excited. You'll stay in the spare room. You touch anything, I shoot you again. I can live with that. She paused. And stop looking at me like you've just won a mating contest. This is not a victory. Lucas showed up a few hours later, amused and carrying a duffel bag. You moving in? He asked Dorian, temporarily. Lucas spotted Sadie and gave her a salute. May the gods protect your sanity. They abandoned me the second he walked in. Acrid, Lucas said. Dorian didn't unpack much. Just enough to stay close. Not to intrude. Just ... observe. Guard. Maybe charm her, though so far. Charm wasn't his strong suit, but he noticed the small things. How Sadie always counted her cash twice. How she cleaned glasses when she was nervous. How her eyes softened slightly when she looked at him after a hard night. She'd let him in. Not her heart, but her territory. And for an alpha like Dorian Vale, that was a start. Dorian Vale was an apex predator, a warrior, a ruthless leader feared across 3 territories. He was also currently in charge of making coffee at 7 a.m. Where's the start button? He muttered, frowning at the aging espresso machine behind the bar. Sadie leaned in the doorway, arms folded, watching with mild amusement as Dorian poked the buttons like they were part of a bomb. Don't press that one, she said, too late. The machine hissed violently. Something clanked. Then, with a high-pitched whine, it gave one last gasp and died. Dorian blinked at it. I didn't break it. It broke itself. You murdered it. It was defective. It was fine before you touched it. Dorian glanced at her, expression unreadable. I'm trying to help. Sadie walked over, flipped the machine's power switch off, and gave it a pitying pat. Try helping without touching anything with buttons or gears. He straightened. I cleaned the bar. I wiped tables. You used lemon-scented floor polish on the tabletops. He crossed his arms. They're shiny. They're sticky. Lucas wandered in then, looking suspiciously cheerful for a man who hadn't had coffee yet. Smells like burnt motor oil, he said, sniffing. Dorian tried to make lattes again. He killed the espresso machine, Sadie replied, deadpan. Lucas clapped his alpha on the shoulder. You're really settling into domestic life. Domestic life is fragile, Dorian muttered. Sadie grinned. So are my appliances. You break one more thing, and I'm sending you to live with the feral cats behind the diner. I'd survive. They wouldn't. The last person Sadie expected to walk through the bar door that night was Mason Calloway, tall, charming in that oily used car dealer kind of way, and her very human, very ex-boyfriend, Sadie. He drawled, like his smile didn't still make her want to commit minor crimes. Mason, she said, tone cool. Didn't know cockroaches could open doors. Lucas, drying a glass behind the bar, coughed to cover a laugh. Mason's eyes drifted past her hand, landed on Dorian. Dorian, who was currently behind the bar, lifting a keg one-handed, his muscles flexing in ways that said mine louder than any conversation ever could. Friend of yours? Mason asked. Co-worker, Sadie said flatly. Temporary. Dorian didn't say anything, just gave Mason a look. The kind of look usually reserved for prey. Mason, oblivious as ever, smirked. You always did have a type. Tall and emotionally unavailable. I was trying. You left. You cheated. I left. Don't rewrite the script. Mason leaned in. You know, I've been thinking about us. A low growl cut him off. Sadie turned. Dorian stood still, eyes glowing faintly gold, his jaw tight. Mason stepped back instinctively. What the hell is wrong with him? He doesn't like rats. In his bar, Sadie muttered. Mason's smirk faded. You always did attract weirdos. Yeah, guess I had a weak phase. Mason opened his mouth to reply. Dorian stepped around the bar, calm, but that alpha weight rolled off him in thick, dangerous waves. You should leave, he said, quiet, final. Mason looked between them, eyes narrowing. Oh, I get it now. You upgraded. No, Sadie said. I evolved. That night, the storm rolled in like a warning. Wind howled. Rain slammed sideways against the windows. Thunder cracked so loud the bar's lights flickered. Sadie locked up, double-checked the door, then climbed the stairs to her apartment above. Dorian was already there. Not in the bedroom he hadn't dared, but sitting shirtless on her worn couch, drying his hair with a towel. You look like a Greek god. Who got electrocuted? She said, tossing him a blanket. You worried about me. I'm worried you'll ruin my couch. I heal fast. You're damp wolf, but still stains fabric. He smirked. Sadie sat on the opposite end of the couch, tugging the blanket around herself. The silence stretched. Then, finally, she said, You didn't have to growl at Mason. I did. He's not a threat, I know. You still did it. I wanted to. She turned to him. Why? Dorian met her gaze, eyes dark and intense. Because he treated you like you were something he could come back to. Like he hadn't ruined his chance. That made me angry. Sadie looked away. I'm not some helpless human you have to guard, like treasure. I know you're not helpless, he said softly, but I am a wolf, and wolves protect what's theirs. I'm not yours, yet. She stood suddenly, pacing. You don't get to claim me just because some weird magic says we're soulbound. I'm not claiming you. I'm choosing you. There's a difference. She stopped. The storm raged. Outside, inside, the silence was louder. Finally, she whispered, and if I never choose you back? Dorian's answer was quiet, but firm. Then I'll still protect you, because I care, not because I'm owed. By morning, the storm was gone, and with it went any sense of peace. Sadie came downstairs to find Dorian in the bar, shirtless again and covered in paint. What the hell are you doing? He turned, holding a paint roller like a weapon. I'm fixing the wall. What wall? This one. He gestured to the far wall, now half covered in mismatched white paint. It had cracks, looked like water damage. It was water damage, she snapped. It's textured brick. That's supposed to look vintage. Oh. Lucas walked in, took one look, and laughed so hard he dropped the box he was carrying. You painted over the exposed brick. It looked moldy. Sadie buried her face in her hands. You just took 50 years of character and turned it into hospital beige. Dorian looked genuinely confused. I thought I was helping. You owe me a wall, Vale. I can repaint. You can't even make coffee. Lucas was wheezing now. Sadie grabbed a chair, sank into it, and muttered, I should have let the rogue eat me. The tension hit its boiling point 3 days later. Dorian barked orders at a delivery guy dropping off kegs. Sadie stormed out of the kitchen, covered in marinara and rage. You don't get to run my bar, Dorian. I was helping move inventory. You told the supplier to change my vendor. He was overcharging. That's not your call. They were nose to nose now. I'm trying to protect your business, Dorian snapped. You run yourself. Into the ground trying to do everything alone. Because people like you steamroll everything. I like doing things myself. I chose this life. And I chose you. That's not my problem. Silence. The bar was dead quiet. Lucas stood frozen in the doorway, holding a sandwich mid-bite. Dorian's jaw clenched. I'll back off. Sadie blinked. What? I'll stop interfering. If that's what you want. She hesitated. It is. He nodded once. Then I'll respect it. He walked past her, stiff, distant. Lucas gave Sadie a long look. You sure you didn't just break his heart? Sadie didn't answer. Because, for once, ... she wasn't sure. Sadie never liked going down to the cellar alone, not because she believed in ghosts or ghouls or anything that could jump out from the shadows. She'd shot too many actual monsters by now to fear imaginary ones. But this morning, the air in the basement felt off. She was halfway down the stairs, flashlight in hand, chasing down a leaky pipe, when her foot knocked something over. It clattered a tin box, old and rusted, shoved behind the last shelf. Curiosity overruled plumbing. She dragged the box out, popped the latch, and frowned at the contents. A weathered journal, pages yellowed, cover cracked. Beside it bullets, not regular ones. These gleamed silver dots. She opened the journal. September 3rd, 1975. Shot a wolf near the river. Not normal, it shifted. She screamed like a woman when she died. Sadie's fingers tightened on the pages. There were diagrams, notes, names, a list, titled Confirmed, with sketches of wolves, midshift, blood trails, bodies, and at the bottom, one sentence circled over and over. They don't belong here. A throat cleared behind her. She spun, shotgun instinctively up, flashlight blinding Dorian as he stood halfway down the stairs. Easy, he said, lifting a brow. I knock now, remember. She lowered the flashlight. Sorry. His gaze drifted to the journal in her hand. His nostrils flared. That's old, human ink. Silver residue. I think someone in this town used to hunt your kind. Dorian stepped down, eyes scanning the pages. This symbol here, he tapped the corner. That's the mark of the severance order. Hunters, real ones, trained. Sadie swallowed. Think they're still around? Not locally. If they were, you'd be dead already. That's comforting. Dorian's eyes darkened. This place, this town, it has more secrets than you know. Sadie shut the journal slowly. So, do the first. He studied her, then said, quietly, if this place ever becomes unsafe, you come with me. No arguing. She didn't promise, but she didn't say no either. Dorian Vale had battled rogue wolves, bled in alpha trials, negotiated treaties with packs that would rather see him dead, but asking Sadie Myers on a date. That was the scariest thing he'd ever done. I'm not wearing heels, Sadie said flatly as she stared at the dress Lucas had sneakily dropped off just in case. You don't need to dress up, Dorian replied from the other side of the door. Just be ready by 7. She opened the door, saw him in a dark button-down and jeans that cost more than her car, and sighed. You are the dress code. Apparently, the date started awkward. Dorian brought her to a quiet spot outside Townan, old orchard clearing with picnic lights, a grill and a table set for 2. Lucas had clearly helped. No way Dorian knew how to fold napkins like that. Wow, she said, looking around. This doesn't feel like your usual doom and gloom aesthetic. I have layers, he replied, like an angry onion. They sat, they ate. Surprisingly, they laughed. I thought alphas didn't cook, Sadie said, biting into a perfectly grilled steak. I learned, long winters. No one else wanted to do it right. So you're a control freak, even with meat? He smirked. Yes. She took a sip of wine. It's weird. You're not as terrifying when you're feeding me and not growling at the mailman. I don't growl at the mailman. You do growl when he flirts with me. Because he's 60 and persistent. That's just confidence. Dorian leaned back, the candlelight catching in his gold-flecked eyes. I like seeing you like this. Like what? Relaxed. Real. Sadie met his gaze. Don't fall for me, Vale. I already have. She looked away, but she didn't tell him to stop. Sadie woke the next morning to the scent of fresh coffee, actual coffee. Not scorched plastic. She padded downstairs and found Dorian in the kitchen, miraculously not breaking anything. He handed her a mug. You made this. I followed a tutorial. She blinked. You watched a YouTube video? He shrugged. Lucas said I'd never win you over with intimidation and would shopping alone. She sipped. It was perfect. Damn it. Dorian leaned against the counter, watching her too closely. Have you felt it yet? She stiffened. Felt what? The pull. The mate bond. Sadie turned away. I don't feel anything. You're lying. I'm ignoring it. He stepped closer. Why? Because I like being in control of my life. Because I like choosing who I love, not being chemically forced into it by some magical mating link. Dorian's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Hurt. Maybe. I've never forced you, he said. I won't. Ever. Sadie's voice dropped. But what if I do feel it, Vale? What if I wake up one day and can't breathe without you? What if it stops being a choice? He didn't answer, because he couldn't promise it wouldn't. That night, Sadie drank too much. I'm just saying, she slurred, perched sideways on the bar stool, one booted foot propped on the rail. You've got this whole alpha wolf thing going for you, but you still flinch when I say feelings. Dorian sat nearby, utterly still. Sadie, no. Listen. She pointed a wobbly finger. You've got the smolder, the jawline, the growl, but emotionally, you're a paper towel. Lucas, behind the bar, gave a snort. This is the best night of my life. Dorian glared at him. Why did you let her drink this much? She said she wanted to forget her feelings. Then she tried to arm wrestle me. I won, Sadie yelled proudly. You cheated. You kissed my hand mid-match. Strategy, she slurred. Dorian stood, gently sliding an arm around her waist. Come on, you need to sleep. Don't touch me, she said dramatically. You'll imprint on me, like a duck. That's not how wolves work. She patted his chest. You're warm. Do wolves run hotter than humans? Usually. Can I nap on you? Yes. 10 minutes later, she was passed out on his chest, curled up like a sleepy cat. Lucas peeked in, snapped a photo, and said, This one's going in the Christmas card. Morning brought a hangover, the size of Montana, and a very groggy Sadie. She shuffled into the bar kitchen, hair wild, wearing one of Dorian's hoodies, and stopped dead at the sight of him making breakfast. Did we? No, did I? You said I was emotionally moist, tell it. Okay, that sounds right. He handed her coffee. You also told Lucas he was your favorite wolf. Lie, absolute lie. Dorian looked at her seriously. We need to talk, now. I want to mark you. Sadie's eyes widened. What? Like bite me? Yes, at the base of the neck. It won't hurt much. You mean a permanent bite? It seals the mate bond. Sadie blinked slowly, then said, You try that without my consent, and I will neuter you with a garlic press. Dorian didn't flinch. I would never do it without your permission. Good, because my neck is not on the menu. But if she raised a spatula threateningly, he stepped back, hands up. Understood. Sadie sipped her coffee, marking rituals, werewolf puberty, secret hunter journals. It's like dating a fever dream. And yet, Dorian said softly, you haven't kicked me out. She looked at him, and for once, she didn't have a comeback. The air shifted the moment the strangers arrived. Dorian stood on the porch of Sadie's bar, arms folded, eyes scanning the tree line. The wind carried a new scent, foreign, sharp, tinged with blood and smoke. Lucas walked up beside him, jaw tight. They crossed the eastern border 20 minutes ago. No challenge, no contact, just strolled in like they belonged. They don't, Dorian growled. Name, Alpha Arik Kane, Western Ridge Pack. Banished 6 years ago after tearing through 3 allied settlements, and now he's here. Lucas nodded grimly. With enforcers, 10 wolves, minimum. Dorian's eyes darkened. Then it's not a visit, it's a message. Inside, Sadie wiped down the bar, glancing outside with growing unease. You're tensing like something's about to explode. It might, Dorian muttered. More wolves. He looked at her. Not just wolves. Predators. Ones without honor. Sadie narrowed her eyes. And let me guess you don't want me involved. I don't want you harmed. I'm not. Breakable, Vale. You're human, and you're dramatic. Look, this is my town too. Lucas grinned. She's not wrong. Dorian gave them both a glare that could have melted ice. I don't care if she's the reincarnated goddess of war, he snapped. I'm not letting that pack come near her. Good luck with that, Sadie said breezily, grabbing her shotgun. Because if they step foot near my bar, I'm personally ejecting them with buckshot and sass. Sadie did not expect Mason Calloway to show his face again, but of course, when she did least expect it, he swaggered into her bar like he hadn't nearly gotten growled out of it the last time. This time, he brought back up to tall men with cold eyes and predator smiles. Dorian appeared before Sadie could even reach for the shotgun. His voice was a low warning. You brought rogues into my territory, Mason. Mason shrugged. Relax, man. I'm just having a drink. You don't drink here anymore. Sadie walked round the bar. You with the new pack. Mason smiled. You always were quick, babe. I'm not your babe. Dorian took a step forward. Mason's friends tensed. Sadie saw it. Dorian's tone dropped to lethal. I can smell them. Arik's wolves. We're just scouting, Mason said, grinning. Checking out the local attractions. She's not an attraction, Dorian snarled. Sadie held up a hand. Let me. She walked up to Mason, close enough that his smirk grew smug. Then she kneed him hard. He doubled over. I told you the first time, she said coldly. This is my bar. You don't walk in uninvited, and you sure as hell don't threaten what's mine. Behind her, Dorian blinked. Lucas choked on his drink. Oh no, she just reversed the claiming. Dorian growled, but it sounded suspiciously like pride. The next day, the rogue tension remained thick, but Sadie needed air. She took a hike outside the bar's territory line, shotgun slung casually over her shoulder. She wasn't looking for trouble. Trouble, however, found her. She heard it first, sharp, high-pitched yelp, then a whimper. Sadie crept through the brush and found a steel snare, the kind that wasn't meant for regular wolves. The pup caught In it couldn't have been more than 4 months old, black-furred, terrified, its leg bloodied and trembling. Sadie didn't hesitate. She crouched down, cooing softly. "It's okay, little dude. I'm here. I got you." She pulled out a pocket knife and carefully cut the trap loose, muttering under her breath the whole time about how people who used these should step in them. Barefoot, she wrapped the pup in her jacket and headed back. When she returned to the bar, Dorian was waiting tense, pacing. He froze at the sight. "You left the warded border," he snapped. "What were you thinking?" "I was thinking there was a baby wolf bleeding in a trap, and maybe your alpha temper could take a seat for 5 minutes. He blinked. "You saved it." Sadie set the pup on the couch, where it shifted into a little boy with tear-streaked cheeks. Dorian's heart stopped. Sadie wrapped the boy in a blanket, cradling him with quiet care. "Your kind bleeds to Vale. You don't get to act like you're the only one protecting something." For the first time, Dorian didn't have a comeback, just awe and maybe a little love. Lucas had a plan. It was stupid, it was dangerous, but it was his. "Sadie," he said one night while Dorian was out patrolling, "you like music. I'm not going to karaoke with you. No, hear me out. There's a bonfire tonight. Local pack is hosting. No politics, no rogues. Just food, dancing, and maybe some suspiciously strong cider." Sadie raised a brow. "You want me to mingle with wolves? Just the ones that aren't trying to kill you?" Still a bad pitch. Lucas leaned in conspiratorially. "Look, Dorian's impossible. He doesn't know how to woo. He thinks protecting you counts as flirting. He hasn't even kissed you yet." Sadie paused. "That's not your business." "Exactly. But it's going to become everyone's business, unless you two stop growling and start making progress. Come, dance, look irresistible. Maybe confuse his alpha brain into action." Sadie smirked. "You want me to flirt with your alpha?" Desperately. They arrived together. Dorian nearly choked on his drink when he saw Sadie black jeans, open jacket boots that could kill a man, and a crooked smile like she knew the effect she had. "What is she wearing?" he muttered. Lucas beamed. "Success." Sadie danced. She laughed. She ignored Dorian until the third song in. Then she walked over and held out a hand. "You gonna dance, or just brood in the corner?" "I don't dance. You'll survive." He took her hand. They danced, and Dorian Vale smiled, like he'd forgotten how to do anything else. It was the full moon. The sky was molten silver, the wind still. The pack howled from deep in the forest, calling to the stars, to instinct, to everything. That made them wolf. Sadie stood at the edge of the clearing, watching Dorian shift midly. The transition was smooth, terrifying. Beautiful dot, then he trotted toward her in his wolf form, black fur gleaming, eyes still gold. She knelt. He came to her like she was a magnet. When he shifted back naked again, because of course she didn't. "Look away this time. Don't say anything stupid," she said quietly. "Just listen." Dorian's breathing slowed. "I'm listening. I've been fighting this. You, everything. Because it felt like a threat to who I am. I know. But I'm starting to think, maybe it's not taking something from me. Maybe it's giving me something I never thought I could have." He stared. She leaned in. "Don't get smug. Too late." Then, without warning, she kissed him, and Dorian Vale, alpha of 3 territories, forgot every rule. His hands came to her waist, pulling her flush against him, and she kissed him like she meant it, like something in her had finally snapped. When they pulled back, Breathing hard, he asked, "Can I mark you?" She touched his cheek. "Ask me again when I trust fate not to ruin it." He didn't argue, he just smiled, because she'd said when, not if. Saturday night, the bar was packed. Country rock hummed through the speakers, glasses clinked. Laughter rose like steam butt. Dorian's hackles were already up before the door even creaked open. The rogue scent hit hard. Cloaked in cologne and smugness, Alpha Arik Kane stepped through the bar like he owned it. Flanked by two enforcers and oozing menace in a leather jacket, 2 sizes too self-important. Sadie paused mid-pour, jaw tightening. "Easy," Dorian muttered, stepping behind the bar beside her. "You don't need to," she handed him the bottle, mid-pour. "I know, you're about to get all heroic and glowy-eyed, but let me handle this." Arik's grin sharpened when he spotted her. "Miss Myers, I heard this place was hot." Dorian's growl was low, dangerous. Sadie leaned on the bar. "You're not welcome here, Arik. That's a shame. I came all this way. Leave. You should consider joining us instead," Arik purred. "A human who can tame an alpha. That's rare, useful." Dorian took one step forward. Sadie grabbed his wrist without looking. "Let me," Arik laughed. "You're cute when you pretend you have power here." Sadie smiled sweetly, then slammed the butt of the shotgun into his knee. The entire bar went still as Arik dropped with a pained grunt. The enforcers drawing up Dorian moved fast. He grabbed one by the collar, slammed him into a stool, and shattered it. Lucas handled the second with a flying elbow that definitely wasn't regulation-packed behavior. Arik snarled, rising, but Sadie had the shotgun aimed at his head before he could blink. "Wanna try again?" she asked coolly. Dorian turned to her, chest heaving, eyes glowing gold. "You did good, I know," she said. He smiled. She smiled back. Then the bar erupted in applause. Sadie stood alone on the roof that night. The town stretched out below, her moonlight painting the world in shades of silver. Dorian joined her quietly, barefoot, 2 mugs of tea in hand. "I figured you wouldn't sleep," he said, offering one to her. "I don't like being hunted." She replied. He sipped. "You were incredible tonight." She didn't answer, because something was changing. It wasn't just adrenaline anymore. It wasn't just banter or sparks or the occasional intense staring session. It was ... gravity, like her body had recalibrated around him. She felt drawn to him in a way that made no sense. She'd catch herself, watching him, feeling the warmth of him across a room. She'd feel his presence before he entered, his moods like shadows pressing into her bones, and worse. She liked it. "I'm scared," she admitted. Dorian's brows rose. "Of what?" "Of losing myself. You're the only person I've ever met who couldn't be lost if she tried." "That's sweet," she muttered. "But this bond, it's making me feel things, like ... butterflies, and hormones, and stupid poetry." Dorian tilted his head. "I've never written poetry. Don't start. I was going to compare you to war." Sadie choked on her tea. Dorian smiled, but only in the good ways. She leaned against him, shoulder to shoulder, and for once didn't pull away. The power went out mid-storm. Sadie lit candles while Dorian grumbled in the corner, glaring at the breaker box like it had personally offended him. Lucas shouted from below, "I'm blaming Dorian for this." "You blame me for everything," Dorian called back. "Because you are the problem," Sadie laughed. Dorian turned toward her. "What's funny? You being helpless." "I'm not helpless. You can't boil water without instructions, I learned." "Sure, After burning the kettle twice, she sank into the couch, candlelight dancing in her eyes. Dorian joined her, close but not touching. His restraint was admirable. Tortured, but admirable. "I used to dream about this," she said after a moment. He looked at her. Power outages, peace, being with someone who didn't make me feel small, or like I had to prove something to stay. "You don't have to prove anything." She met his eyes. "You make me feel seen, Vale. It's weird, it's terrifying, but it's good." He reached out, hand brushing hers. They sat like that, quiet, steady, warm. Then Lucas shouted up again. "Are you two emotionally bonding, or should I call a mechanic?" "Go away," they yelled in unison. Arik returned with an army. The bar was closed, storm shutters drawn. Dorian stood at the window, staring out at the wolves gathered beyond the warded lines. "He wants a meeting," Lucas said grimly. "Alone, just you and Sadie." Dorian's face went still. "No," Sadie was already pulling on her coat. "Yes," he turned. "No," she looked him square in the eye. "He wants me. If I don't show, he'll come through those woods swinging. If I do, maybe we buy time." Dorian's voice dropped. "You're not bait, no," she said, softer. "I'm the shield." He didn't like it, but he went anyway. They met Arik at the edge of the trees. He lounged against a stump like he wasn't moments away from starting a war. "Sadie," he purred. "You look radiant. I've got a shotgun in my bag." "Compliment carefully." Arik chuckled. "You could be more than this. More than barstools and half-dead wolves. I could make you powerful. I could make you feared. She already is." Dorian growled. Arik's eyes flicked over him, still leashed to the human, Vale. "She's the reason I don't burn your pack to the ground tonight." Sadie smiled. "You keep talking like I don't get a say." Arik's voice turned cold. "This is your warning, Sadie. If you don't join me, I'll take you. Marked. Or not." Dorian stepped forward, but Sadie was faster. Her fist hit Arik's jaw with a crack. "You won't take anything," she hissed. The fight was instant. Wolves shifted, claws slashed, the forest lit with fire and fury. Dorian went for Arik alpha to alpha. Sadie fought too, shotgun in hand, guarding the back. She caught an enforcer trying to flank them and took him down with a boot to the ribs and a cracked rib of her own dot in the center. Dorian and Arik clashed. Fangs, roars, lightning in the sky. Arik slashed across Dorian's ribs. Dorian bit into his shoulder. They rolled through mud and blood, snarling. Sadie shouted something, but it was lost in the chaos. Then Arik lunged at her, and Dorian saw red. He moved like a storm. Teeth met throat. Arik dropped, breathing hard, covered in blood. Dorian stood over the body, panting, trembling. Sadie rushed to him, grabbing his face. Hey, Alpha of Doom, you with me?" He blinked down at her. "You're bleeding. I've got a scratch. You nearly died." "You punched him again," he said, almost dazed. "I always punch creeps." He laughed, then groaned, then collapsed against her. She caught him. Barely. Lucas ran up a moment later, panting. "Okay, let me just say, this is the most romantic battlefield I've ever seen." Sadie rolled her eyes. "Get a medkit," Lucas grinned, "right after I take a photo for the packed newsletter." The smoke reached the sky before Sadie heard the sirens. She stood outside her bar, watching flames eat through the second floor, sparks spitting like angry bees. The building hissed and screamed as if mourning itself. Lucas stood to the side, pacing. The fire started near the cellar. Gasoline, definitely intentional. Dorian said nothing. He was too still, too quiet. Sadie's fists trembled. Who the hell would Arik? Dorian growled. His wolves fled, but he still had allies. Pack law says this kind of retaliation means blood. Sadie turned to him. So do human laws. Dorian's eyes glowed. Human laws won't. Protect you, I will. I don't want to run again, Dorian. I'm not asking you to run. I'm taking you home. Sadie looked back at the blaze. The bar was more than a job. It was freedom. It was safety. It was hers, and now it was gone. She didn't cry. Not yet, but when Dorian placed his hand gently on her back, she leaned into it, silent. Sadie never thought she'd miss her rickety apartment above a bar. But when Dorian's SUV rolled through the heavy, enchanted gates of Vale territory, she realized she'd entered a completely different world. Stone cabins dotted the forest like forgotten ruins. Actual wolves lounged on porches, played in streams, and watched her with two curious eyes. She shifted uncomfortably. They're all staring. Lucas grinned from the driver's seat. You're the alpha's mate. You basically Beyoncé. Dorian stepped out first, and the effect was immediate. Wolves parted, heads dipped. The air buzzed with deference. Sadie muttered, "You ever gonna tell me how you got them all to worship you like a dark forest god?" "I won my trials," Dorian said simply. "No one challenged me and lived." Lucas chuckled. "He means he politely debated with them over tea." "Very civil." Sadie raised an eyebrow. "So, this is your territory." "This is your territory now, too," Dorian said. "As long as you stay." She didn't reply. Because that offer, it scared her more than the fire. On day 3, Sadie was ready to strangle someone. She stepped into the main hall, huge fireplace. Long tables, at least 30 wolves milling around, and was immediately met with silence. Not because she was loud, but because she existed. Everywhere she went, they whispered, "She's the human." Alpha Dorian's mate. Soft skin, sharp mouth, she sat next to Lucas, who handed her a plate and a smirk. "You're already a legend. I haven't even done anything." "You don't have to. You're claimed. That's enough." "I'm not claimed," she snapped. Then Dorian entered. Conversation ceased. Wolves sat straighter. Sadie rolled her eyes. You'd think the Pope just walked in. He joined her, nodding slightly. "They respect rank. They fear you." "Same thing," Sadie huffed. "I liked it better when I had a broken espresso machine and a sarcasm budget." Dorian leaned in, voice soft. "This is new for them too." "What, you having a girlfriend?" His lips quirked. "Having someone I don't control." She blinked. He meant it as a compliment. And somehow, she didn't hate that. Sadie had almost made peace with pack life, until Lena walked in tall, blonde, every inch of her polished to sparkle like a gemstone dropped in dirt. Former Beta's daughter. Current problem, she slid up to Sadie during breakfast, her voice syrupy and fake. "You know, you don't have to pretend. We all know you won't last." Sadie didn't look up from her eggs. "Pretend what? That this is your place? That Dorian will choose you? He needs a wolf, not a weak link." Sadie stabbed a sausage. "You must be the ex. I'm the obvious choice." Sadie smiled. "You're about to be the unconscious choice." Lena laughed. "Is that a threat?" "No, Sadie said, standing slowly. That's a warning. Lena lunged. Sadie dodged, then grabbed the skillet she'd been cooking on and swung. Clang. Lena went down like a chopped tree. The hall went dead silent. Lucas peeked in. Did she just Iron Chef her into next week? Dorian entered, took one look, and sighed. I leave for one patrol. One. Sadie crossed her arms. She insulted me, and you. You hit her with a frying pan. She insulted my eggs. Lucas whispered, she's perfect. By the end of the week, Sadie had made more progress with the pack than anyone expected, mostly by not trying to impress them. She patched up scrapes, swore like a sailor, played cards with the amigos, cooked breakfast that didn't involve raw meat, argued with Dorian like he was her roommate and not a semi-feral warlord, and they loved it. She called Dorian a muscle-wrapped man-child yesterday. Lucas whispered to the younger wolves. He blushed. Sadie, for her part, found it bizarre she didn't want a throne. She didn't need loyalty oaths, but she liked being liked. Still, she avoided the marked conversation. The bond was there glowing, persistent, but the trauma of losing her own life once, of building everything from scratch. It made her hesitate. That night, Dorian found her by the creek. You're quieter lately, he said, thinking, dangerous hobby. She smiled. They like me. They adore you. She studied him. You're not mad I keep delaying the mark. Dorian shook his head. No, you'll do it when you're ready. She stepped forward. And if I never am, I'll wait, he said simply. Forever, if I have to. Sadie stared at him, then kissed him. Longer this time, when they pulled apart, she whispered. You're annoyingly good at this. He smirked. At patience, at making me fall for you. The moon hung fat and golden above Vale territory, suspended in a velvet sky thick with stars. The trees whispered. The pack celebrated in the distance howls, laughter, firelight flickering in the forest clearing. But Sadie stood away from them all. On the edge of the lake, toes in the grass, wrapped in a blanket of solitude and unresolved tension. Dorian approached quietly. She didn't turn. You ever feel like the whole world is waiting for you to say something you don't know how to say? He stopped beside her all the time. She finally looked at him. He wasn't in alpha mode tonight. No leather, no scowl, just a black shirt rolled at the sleeves, his dark hair tousled from the wind, gold eyes soft but steady. Sadie sucked in a breath. Everyone keeps talking like it's fate, that we're meant to be, that this bond has to happen. He stayed silent. I'm not scared of you, Vale. I'm scared of losing myself in something I didn't choose. I know, she turned, facing him fully. So why haven't you pushed? Because I love you, he said simply. And love without choice isn't love at all. Her breath caught. Dorian stepped forward, brushing his fingers along her cheek. But if you choose me, I'll never let go. She kissed him. This time there was no fear, no second-guessing. Her hands curled around his neck, his arms wrapped around her waist, and the lake reflected the shimmer of the full moon above them. In the distance, someone set off a firework. Was that Lucas? Sadie asked between breaths. Yes, Dorian muttered, lips still on hers. He's trying to be helpful. I hate that it worked. They kissed again anyway. And this time, the stars didn't just shine. They approved the next morning. Sadie sat on the porch of Dorian's cabin with a cup of lukewarm coffee and a growing sense of clarity. I'm staying, she said, as Dorian joined her. He blinked, just like that. She shrugged. Just like that, I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop. Waiting for an excuse to leave. But I'm done running from things that scare me. He lowered himself beside her. You? Scared of me? No, she admitted. Scared of how much I want to stay. Dorian reached for her hand. I'm glad. They sat in silence until Lucas burst onto the porch with a folded flyer in hand. You guys, the elders want to host the official bond ceremony tonight. Candles, wine, an emotionally confused rabbit for symbolism or something. It's going to be amazing. Sadie raised a brow. You're enjoying this way too much. I have 10 years of romance novels to make up for, he said, tossing glitter. In the air, also I ordered matching robes. Dorian groaned. We're not doing robes. Sadie grinned. We'll see. That evening, the entire pack gathered in the ceremonial grove. Torches burned low. Flowers dusted the path. Sadie wore a simple black dress that clung just right. Dorian wore a robe, because Lucas won. They stood before the circle, hands clasped, eyes locked. The ceremony was sacred, rooted in ancient magic and tradition. At the climax, the couple would sip from a ceremonial chalice, share vows, and then mark each other under the full moon. Easy, except nothing's ever easy in Vale. Sadie sipped from the chalice, paused, blinking, double quotes, did that taste like rum? Dorian took his sip. His eyes widened. Why is it ... fizzing? Lucas ran in from the side, holding a wine bottle. Oh, no tread. Wasn't the ceremonial chalice. That was my party wine. Sadie swayed. Lucas, what the hell did you put in this? Just a little fine wine, and okay, a lot of fermented moonflower root. Dorian blinked slowly. I can hear your hair. Sadie nodded. Your jawline is vibrating. Chaos followed. Sadie giggled uncontrollably. Dorian declared war on a nearby squirrel. Half the pack tried to calm the alpha down while the other half played tag. Lucas sobbed into a cake. By morning, the ceremony was officially postponed. Sadie woke up in Dorian's arms, groaning. Did I hallucinate a conversation with a very wise Pinacon? You made it your spiritual guide. Great. He kissed her temple. You were radiant. You howled at the moon like it insulted your haircut. He smiled. It deserved. 2 nights later, while Sadie was helping rebuild the bar's foundation with Lucas and a few betas, a sharp whistle cut through the trees. Lucas stiffened. That's a warning call. Dorian arrived seconds later, eyes blazing. We found tracks too light for wolves. Human scent masked. They're inside the perimeter. Sadie didn't hesitate. I'm going with you. No, Dorian said. Instantly. Not this time. She met his gaze. You don't get to shield me from danger and call it love. He hesitated, then nodded. Then stay behind me. They found the assassin near the east ridge, clad in black, face hidden, crossbow, aimed with a tipped silver bolt. Down. Dorian shouted as it fired. Sadie tackled Lucas's side, the bolt grazing her shoulder. Dorian shifted midair for exploding, jaws snapping. The assassin moved, fast, silver dagger drawn, slicing clean across his side. But Dorian was faster. He slammed into the intruder with bone-crushing force. Sadie grabbed the dropped crossbow and aimed it. Don't move. The assassin hesitated, then made a break for it. Sadie fired. The bolt hit the leg, and the assassin crumpled. Dorian, still panting, shifted back, bleeding, bruised but alive. Sadie rushed to him. You idiot, she breathed. You could have died. I didn't, he said. She grabbed his face. You ever try something that reckless again, I swear I'll bury you alive and flirt with your beta just to haunt your grave. He smiled, then kissed her. Right there, with blood on his lips and dirt on his skin. And she kissed him back like he was the only thing that made sense. The second ceremony was simpler. No guests, no glitter, no mishaps. Just a clearing under the stars, just a fire. Just two people who'd earned their love, the hard way through fire, fury, and absolutely no patience. Sadie stepped forward, unafraid. Dorian watched her, equal parts reverent and stunned. I choose you, she said softly. Not because fate says so, but because I do. He swallowed. I've waited my whole life for this. She smiled. I made you wait on purpose. He laughed. She laughed. She leaned in, exposing the curve of her neck. Do it. His teeth brushed, skin gentle at first. Then he bit. Magic surged, a searing burn, a spark, a fire, then something deeper. Her body knew him. Every part of her echoed with his name. His scent burned into her soul. She marked him in return. Her bite fierce and sure. And when they pulled back, both panting, linked in every way possible, Sadie whispered, Still not calling you Alpha. He smirked. I wouldn't want you. 2. They kissed under the full moon, marked, mated, and very much in love. Lucas, from a distance, raised a toast alone and sniffled. My babies grew up. The air in the Vale council chamber was thick with tension and incense that smelled suspiciously like burnt rosemary and ego. The Council of Claws, 5 ancient alphas who thought time and power gave them authority over everything, sat in a semicircle of carved stone thrones. They looked at Sadie like she was a live grenade wearing lip gloss. Elder Moran, the one with the longest beard and the shortest temper, sneered. A human cannot hold the title of Luna. She's not just human, Dorian said coldly. She's mine. Elder Tasha, less cranky but twice as smug, folded her arms. And how do we know she didn't bewitch you? Sadie blinked. Wait, are you calling me a witch or giving me a promotion? Lucas whispered to Dorian, I brought snacks. This is going to be amazing. Elder Brax, the youngest, cleared his throat. This is not personal, it's tradition. Sadie stood, spine straight, eyes blazing. Tradition is eating soup with a wooden spoon. This is my life. You dishonor the bond, Moran growled. I saved your pack from being gutted by rogues. I've taken beatings, buried friends, and nearly got turned into a kebab by a rogue with a crossbow. If that's dishonor, then what do you call sitting around judging people while the world burns? The room went still. Even Dorian didn't breathe. Sadie stepped closer. I didn't ask to be born human, but I chose to stand beside your alpha. That choice, that's power. Not claws, not blood. Will, Moran scowled. Tasha blinked. Brax coughed into his sleeve. ... I vote she stays. Dorian nearly grinned. Later that night, Sadie paced the great hall, ranting with the fervor of a woman who'd survived bureaucracy and decided violence might be more efficient. Bewitching, she muttered. Like I own a damn cauldron. Lucas lounged on a bench, sipping mead. To be fair, if you did own one, I'd feel safer. Dorian entered, shoulders tense but eyes bright. The council's decision is still pending. Oh, what a surprise, Sadie deadpanned. 5 power-drunk furballs can't agree whether the human who saved their hides should get a seat at the table. Dorian chuckled. You were magnificent, She blinked. Wait. Did you just say I did well? Did I hallucinate that? He crossed to her. You were fierce, brilliant. I would have marked you all over again just watching you tell Moran off. Sadie smirked. I threatened to turn him into soup stock. Exactly. Lucas raised a hand. Small note. Politics in wolf culture are 80% posturing and 20% actual governance. Sadie threw her hands up. So like human politics, but with more howling, less Twitter, more teeth. Dorian took her hand. You don't have to fight every battle. Maybe not, but I won't let anyone else write my story. And in that moment, Dorian understood exactly why the Bond had chosen her. Sadie knew that cologne, it was too familiar, too cheap. To Mason, she turned around in the marketplace just in time to see her ex saunter in like he hadn't tried to sell her out to rogue wolves last month. He held up his hands. Before you throw anything, I come in peace. I don't believe. In peace, Sadie said. Only frying pans. Lucas muttered, I'm going to go get the pan. Mason chuckled nervously. Okay, listen. I was wrong about everything. You're powerful now. Respected. I'm offering a truce. Maybe even ... a second chance. Sadie blinked, then laughed loudly. Mason frowned. What's so funny? Do you think this is high school? You think you can just show up with half a smirk and suddenly I forget you betrayed me, sold out my territory, and called me clingy in front of a warlock? Mason shifted uncomfortably. That last one was taken out of context. I'll put you in context, Dorian growled, appearing behind her. Mason went pale. Alpha Dorian High just came to. Dorian's eyes flared gold. Say goodbye. Now's your chance. Mason bolted. Immediately, Sadie exhaled. Well, that was anticlimactic. Lucas arrived too late, wielding a frying pan. Wait, he's gone. I warmed this pan. Sadie laughed. Next time, champ. The rogue attacks hadn't stopped. 3 packs Vale included were under pressure from Arak's remnants and old rivalries. Bloodshed loomed. Tension built. Alliances cracked. The elders met in neutral territory at an ancient stone circle called the Hollow. Dorian stood at the center, flanked by Lucas and Sadie. Elder Moran growled. We don't negotiate with betrayers. We should, Sadie said, stepping forward. Because if we don't, they'll bleed us dry. Several alphas scowled. What would a human know about war? Sadie crossed her arms. Only that. Most of them end because someone finally stops yelling long enough to ask what the hell they're fighting for. She paced the circle slowly, each step deliberate. You're all trying to defend what's yours. Fine. But if you spend all your energy guarding what's behind you, you'll miss what's coming at your throat. One beta muttered. She's got teeth. Lucas beamed. And a frying pan. Watch out. Sadie stopped. We don't have to like each other. We don't even have to respect each other. But if we don't find a reason to stand together, then we fall one by one. Silence, then. Brax stood. I support her proposal. Tasha followed. Then to others, Moraine scowled. You win this round, human. Sadie grinned. I plan to win all of them. The day of the final council vote came under stormy skies. Sadie stood tall as thunder rolled overhead. The pack circled. The elders rose. Brax read aloud. Final vote. Should Sadie Myers, human, be recognized as Luna of Vale? Moran grunted. No. Tasha hesitated. Then nodded. Yes. Brax, grinning, said, yes. 2 more votes. Both yes. Sadie held her breath. Dorian reached for her hand. "You're official now," he whispered. Sadie stared at the circle wolves, who once doubted her, who now watched with something like pride in their eyes. She didn't cry, but her voice shook when she spoke. "I didn't change to belong here," she said. "I just stayed myself until the world caught up." Cheers erupted. Lucas tackled her in a hug, sobbing dramatically. "My Luna, my reckless, sarcastic, pan-wielding Luna." Dorian kissed her in front of everyone, and Sadie bar, owner, fighter, human mate of a legendary alpha, smiled like she'd finally come home. Sadie hadn't been sick in days. Weeks, actually. But that morning, the sight of Dorian's coffee sent her sprinting out the door. Lucas blinked. Should I be worried or impressed? Dorian looked up from his bacon. "She's not sick, she's just tired." Sadie returned 5 minutes later, wiping her mouth. "We need to talk." Dorian stood immediately. "Who hurt you?" "I will end them. No one. But something is growing inside me." He froze. ... What? Sadie smiled. "I'm pregnant." Lucas gasped like a Victorian maiden. "Oh my God." Dorian blinked twice, then sat down hard. "I need air." "You're inside your house," Sadie said. "Exactly. The air here isn't enough." Lucas fanned him with a tea towel. "Breathe, Alpha. We need you upright for the baby shower." Sadie patted Dorian's arm. "Babies, actually, it's twins." Dorian fainted cleanly straight to the floor. Lucas caught him. "Barely." "Okay, so I'm babysitting those twins, when you two inevitably combust." "Right," Sadie grinned. "Only if you bring the frying pan." 2 months later, Sadie's stomach was winning the battle against gravity and patience. "You're glowing," Lucas said sweetly. "I'm sweating, you're nesting. That's adorable. I'm ready to fight the next person who tells me to sit down." Dorian appeared. "In the doorway, you should sit down." Sadie narrowed her eyes. Lucas whispered, "Abort mission." So when Sadie went to the market, Dorian made a decision. "I'm assigning temporary guardianship of Sadie to the Beta Squad while I handled the border patrol." Lucas saluted. "We accept this sacred duty." Hours later, Sadie returned to find the twins' nursery covered in fur, Lucas wrapped in toilet paper as a diapering drill, 2 wolves howling lullabies off-key, and 1 beta trying to install a crib upside down. She stared, then turned to Lucas. "How long was I gone?" 23 minutes. "Are you trying to get banished?" Lucas grinned sheepishly. "It's a learning curve." Dorian returned to a full report and dead silence. Sadie crossed her arms. "They're fired." Dorian looked at Lucas. "You had 1 job," Lucas huffed. "They were fine. Sadie's the one who threatened to castrate Brax for folding a onesie wrong." Sadie shrugged. "I stand by that." The moon hung high, casting silver light across the rebuilt bar's rooftop. Sadie sat with Dorian, the twins nudging inside her like impatient dancers. "I've been thinking," she murmured. Dorian tensed. "Is this going to end in me getting kicked out again?" "No." She smiled. "It's the opposite." She turned to face him, hands resting on her belly. "When this started, I hated fate. I hated the idea that something out there could control who I love." He stayed still, silent. "But then I met you. And you didn't force the bond. You waited. You fought for me. You made me choose." His voice was barely a whisper. "And you chose me. Every day," she said. "Not because the bond made me, but because you did." His eyes darkened not from anger, but that deep, reverent awe he reserved only for her. You don't know how long I waited to hear that. Sadie grinned. You passed out when I told you I was pregnant, so I figured I owed you something sweet. He kissed her gently. You gave me everything. Chaos, that was the word for it. The twins Rowan and Rhea were loud, feral, and adorable. Rhea growled when you tried to burp her. Rowan had already figured out how to shift just his feet. They'd clawed through 3 bassinets. Lucas swore Rhea once bit his toe on purpose. She looked me in the eye, he whispered to Sadie, and then bit me. Sadie sipped her coffee calmly. That's my girl. Dorian, meanwhile, had turned full alphabet. Every room was child-proofed with enchanted locks. Every night he walked the border twice. Every nap he slept holding both twins in his arms. Like a soldier guarding treasure. You know, Lucas muttered one evening, I'm pretty sure Dorian hasn't blinked since Tuesday. I'm watching them, Dorian said without looking up. They're asleep. They're still dangerous. Sadie balanced motherhood and bar running like a pro. Between feeding wolves coffee and wolves with actual fur, her days were full. But she was happy. One night, she looked around. Dorian sprawled on the couch, with both babies curled on his chest. Lucas half asleep on the floor, a half-built playpen, in the corner of her home. Her family, her pack. It happened at sunset, a Pheno-huggy one. Of Aric's last loyalists stormed the edge of Vale, territory with a dozen followers. Dorian met them. Midfield, shirtless, growling, alpha fire in his bones. Sadie stood beside him. Lucas sighed. Why are we always fighting near sunsets? Can we do a noon battle for once? The battle raged. Fangs, fire, claws. Sadie, holding Rhea in one arm and a shotgun in the other, fired warning shots as wolves surged around her. Dorian took down 3. At once, a snarl ripping through the clearing. Lucas tackled a rogue into a wheelbarrow by twilight. The rogues were beaten, captured. The war was finally over. Later. By the fire, Dorian looked at Sadie, bloodied and triumphant. You're still the only thing more dangerous than me, he whispered. She kissed him, slow and deep. Damn right, Lucas. Raised a glass to the Alpha, the Luna, and the future troublemakers of Vale. Cheers rose. The twins howled. The pack howled with them. And Dorian Alpha of Vale, feared by enemies, adored by his people, looked at the stubborn, brilliant, beautiful human beside him and smiled. Because this wasn't fate. It was choice. And he'd choose her again in every life, every time, every way, forever.